This is Charles Haley. You're listening to Nothing But Niners.
This is Kyle Juszczyk, and you're listening to Nothing But Niners.
So now they've got to start from deep in their end of the field, and Garrison Hurst takes advantage of it. He takes the handoff, hits to his right, gets to the 20. He's in the 30, needs to cut in. He comes back up the right sideline, breaks the third tackle, comes down to the 30. He's down to the 20. He's down to the 10. He's down to the 5. He's into the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown! 49ers! 96-yard run from scrimmage. Garrison Hurst breaking tackle after tackle. Sweeps down the sideline, throws off bodies like clothes after a marathon.
Young, back to throw. In trouble, he's going to be sacked. No, gets away. He runs, gets away again, goes to the 40, gets away again, to the 35, cuts back at the 30, to the 20, the 50, the 10. He died. Touchdown, 49ers.
Third down, Alex takes the snap. Alex looking down in post, and it's good! Touchdown! Touchdown, 49ers!
It is second down. Ryan takes the snap, throws the slant to the left side. It's Russell, intercepted! The 49ers pick it, and Navarro Bowman is redemption! Navarro Bowman running it all the way for the touchdown! No greater redemption!
The San Francisco 49ers, we can do whatever we want.
Click, click, boom. What's going on, faithfuls? It's your boy Mike from the Nothing But Niners crew. And guys, listen, I have been under the weather. I've been not feeling well since I came back from Arizona. I missed work the next day. I went to work yesterday. I stayed home today. And I'm just trying to make it. But there's a lot of stuff going on in 49ers land, and I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it to you guys, especially the Patreonians. Shout out to the Patreon community and to those who are members of the Nothing But Niners channel. I applaud you all. Thank you for your loyalty, your support. I appreciate you guys sincerely. So what I'm doing is I'm going to break down the presser here. I know a lot of people out there know that presser breakdowns are one of my things. Like I like to watch the body language, and I like to see how people talk. And, you know, it's rare that we get to see multiple people at the podium at the same time. And I think you can get more from this than what you could get if they were up there by themselves or individually. So we're going to jump right into this. We're going to break this thing down here. I'm not going to belabor in the moment because it is over 36 minutes. We got Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, their year-end pressers. So let's go ahead and get to it. I will be stopping this as I hear things that are interesting and intriguing.
First of all,
Let's go.
On behalf of Kyle, our families, our organization, just wanted to let the folks in L.A. I'm a Southern California guy. Know a lot of people down there and people who've been directly affected already, and I'm sure there's going to be more. So our hearts do. We've been sitting in, what we call our mind meetings, talking about all our players on a closeout, and your mind keeps drifting because, man, it's rough down there. So our thoughts and prayers do go to the folks and people of L.A. and that things calm down. So let's start with that, and then we'll open up for questions.
Can you talk about your decision with Nick and kind of what the overall plan is now for the defensive coordinator position?
First of all, it was a real tough decision. I love Nick as a person.
All right, straight out the gate, great question. Let's just get to the shits, right? Like, we've seen what the season has been. We're not going to beat around the bush. I've got a play where I just know for a fact that it was the end of the Nick Sorensen era here as a defensive coordinator. Now, I say that very precisely as the defensive coordinator because I don't know what his relationship is with Kyle Shanahan. I'm going to share that video with you guys, but I want to hear what Kyle has to say, and he already starts with love. With a tough decision, I love him. Right?
First of all, it was a real tough decision. I love Nick as a person, and I love him as a coach. Still trying to hope to keep him on board in another capacity because he's a guy I don't want to lose. But just where we're at really as a team, where I think we need to go. There's a lot of big decisions ahead for us, and as hard as it is for me to come to this conclusion, but I feel there's some options out there that can end up being a better option in the situation that we're in for our team. And when really it comes down to that, the position I'm in, regardless of anything else, that's always the stuff I got to go with. So it was a real tough decision for me, and I'm still hoping that we can keep Nick here. But I do feel there's some other avenues that in the long run will be better for the 49ers.
I don't know candidates for both of those coordinator spots.
There are candidates, yeah.
Let's stop here really quick. All right, so Kyle did say straight up, I love him as a person, right? Like, so this is deep for Kyle. This is
options
more about a friend
and another
losing a job. This is something that I talked to Wayne about. Why it makes it so difficult for Kyle to move on from these guys. You guys got to forgive John Lynch's face right there. That's not I want to do my man
capacity
dirty
because he's a guy I don't want to lose. But just where we're at.
So there was this play in one of the last games of the season. It was the Lions game, and the Lions are going for it on 4th down again. Now, we stopped them one time. The next time, Amon-Ra St. Brown just ran the easiest little route. He lined up on the right side of the offensive line. He just ran over, and he was wide open. And we were playing like this zone. It was Green, Mustafa, like the two inexperienced guys were there, but literally just let him walk in. And John Lynch was so pissed. He was so pissed. Like, he pounded the table. You don't see John Lynch lose it like this too often. And this is when I knew. This is the moment that I knew that he wouldn't be back. It wasn't. And so, like, down the stretch, there were some good halves of football, right? Like, there was some good football by this Niners defense. Let me be clear. We still missed tackles, right? Like, but those are things that you hope can get better. We still missed tackles. The defense just was shoddy. We didn't get home all the time. But there were some games down the stretch where we held teams to low amounts of points. That Rams game being one of them, right? No touchdowns, right? Like, could we win this one? Maybe it was a Thursday thing, Mike. Maybe you looked into it too much. But I felt like the defense did give the offense some opportunities to win some of these games. But this play in particular, I'm not going to show the whole play, but I want you to see John Lynch.
Come down to Jared, just whenever Amon-Ra St. Brown is the number one receiver in the route, then that's his favorite play.
Come on, man. The writing was on the wall from that moment right there. John Lynch did that. There was no way in hell Nick Sorensen was coming back as a defensive coordinator. Now, here's where your buddy steps in. Here's where your buddy says, yeah, all right, fine, I'll get rid of him as the defensive coordinator, but I hope to keep him here in some form of fashion.
Team, where I think we need to go. There's a lot of big decisions ahead for us, and as hard as it is for me to come to this conclusion, but I feel there's some options out there that can end up being a better option in the situation that we're in for our team. And when really it comes down to that, the position I'm in, regardless of anything else, that's always the stuff I got to go with. So it was a real tough decision for me, and I'm still hoping that we can keep Nick here. But I do feel there's some other avenues that in the long run will be better for the 49ers.
I don't know candidates for both of those coordinator spots.
There are candidates, yes.
The
internal one, I'll give Staley a shot, just talking to him. He's been here. There'll be a lot of guys outside the building, too.
So I just want to touch on this really quick. Wayne and I discussed this also. If they're going to let Staley run a Staley-style defense, cool. 3-4, 5-3, 5-2, whatever it is that he wants to do. If they're going to let Staley run his style defense, I'm not opposed to it. But this defense that we've been running year after year is not working, especially when we get away from fundamentals like setting the edge and tackling fundamentals. Something has to give. I know everyone's talking about, Robert Saleh, cool, but what's he going to change?
Back-to-back years, you fired your defensive coordinator after 1 year. Do you have to go back through the process of this? Hans, I know both different situations. Were there things that went wrong in the process to find these last two guys?
I don't believe anything went wrong in the process. I'll tell you what, it's I think more opportunistic or easier process talking about it right now and whatever the date is today. It's a little bit harder in February, which the last two were in. Being the last team to finish last year and before that, being the second to last team to finish makes it a lot different. So there's more opportunities out there and planning on looking into all of them.
Would experience being a defensive coordinator be important to you this time?
Yeah, I think some of the stuff that, just where we're at, some of the decisions that we got to make and things like that. I think having the experience of going through this before, building things before, I think is definitely a bonus for me. It helps me with some stuff, so that's stuff I will look into. But again, you always, regardless, you don't want to put just any handcuffs on your decision. You're going to always try to figure out the best one, and so you got ideas going into that. But this being so early, I'm going to have an opportunity to talk to a number of guys too. So we'll see what that leads us to.
You've always kind of stuck to this is who we want to be defensively. Is that still the scheme you want, or are you more open to potential changes this time?
I mean, I love the scheme that we've had here. I think one of the hardest things to go through. We got the right guys in the right spots, but I do think people adjust to schemes, and I think you have to adjust too, depending on your personnel. And I think that was a tougher thing for us this year. Just going into the season, it was a little bit harder than past seasons, and some of the injuries we had, I think, made it really.
Great question, man. Like, Kyle, this shit ain't working no more, bro. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? How tied to this scheme are you?
Tough for Nick, and I thought he got better trying to adjust and do different things. But I do think that's something that definitely, I'm not saying you got to change schemes, but you have to have the ability, the history, and the knowledge of how to change some stuff up when you're in some certain situations. And I think that we do need that more going forward.
Under consideration for that special teams coordinator spot, or is that something? Is Nick?
Yeah, Nick would be in consideration. Yes.
Just to be clear, he's been let go, and you're hoping to bring him back.
I just told him he's not going to be the defense coordinator. Yeah. So I mean, he's under contract still, and I'm really hoping that he'll come back. But that's got to be something he and his family feel good about too, and the exact role that we end up carving out for him, which I'll work on here over the next few weeks.
He's got 1 year as a special teams coordinator. 1 year as a special teams coordinator under his whole history as a coach. And this is where Kyle's loyalty can start to really get us fucked up, guys. Like, this is where you just the absolute refusal to move on or improve or make changes, right? Like, Kyle, now, I'm not saying that Sorensen won't be good in another role. I'm not saying that. But this what we're seeing here is pure stubbornness. I want to keep this guy here. What do you owe him? And think about the message that Kyle Shanahan is sending. My loyalty is to people before business, before success. I'm going to find somewhere to keep him on my roster, on my staff. He's under contract. So what? So what if he's under contract? Some people don't deserve to be under contract. We break player contracts all the time. And again, I'm not saying that Sorensen won't be successful somewhere else, but what we're seeing and hearing is a blind loyalty to a person. And I don't understand the reasoning behind it. We're going to find somewhere to put him and employ him and give him money and make sure that he and his family are what do we owe this guy? What do we owe him? Maybe I'm thinking about it the wrong way. But this is why you can't go into business with friends and family. This is why you can't do that, because it clouds your judgment. There's only so many people you can have on the staff, Kyle. And the people that you bring in are automatically going to know that your loyalty are to some of these other people who don't have the position. They're going to know that. So, boom, Kyle Shanahan hires a brand new defensive coordinator. Pick a name out of a hat, but it's not a friend of his. It's not Robert Saleh. It's not Nick Sorensen. It's not Staley. I don't want it to be someone he has any association with, right? Let's just pick a name out of a hat. Boom, right? Jim Schwartz. Nah, he's got a really, really good reputation. Just Mike Andrews. He hires me as a defensive coordinator. And I go and I say, we need to do X, Y, and Z on defense. And Sorensen comes behind me because we found a position for him. He is the assistant defensive coordinator. And he says, I don't think we should do that. I think we should do Z, Y, and W, or X. Who do you think Kyle's going to side with? The guy with no ties to Kyle, or the guy that Kyle refused to move on from? Just think about the message that it sends through the building. And we're just cool with this shit. We're okay with this, right? And I'm so glad they zoomed in on Kyle because
We had, I think, made it
Man,
really
if I
tough
could see
for
John
Nick.
Lynch's face.
And I thought he got better trying to adjust and do different things. But I do think that's
Great
something
question
that,
by Grant. Just to be clear, he's fired, right?
I'm not saying you got to
No,
change
he's not
schemes,
fired. He's not the defensive coordinator.
But you have to have the ability, the history, and the knowledge of how to change some stuff up when you're in some certain situations. And I think that we do need that more going forward.
Under consideration for that special teams coordinator spot, or is is Nick?
Yeah, Nick would be in consideration. Yes.
And just to be clear, he's been let go, and you're hoping to bring him back.
I just told him he's not going to be the defense coordinator. Yeah. So I mean, he's under contract still, and I'm really hoping that he'll come back. But that's got to be something he and his family feel good about too, and the exact role that we end up carving out for him, which I'll work on here over the next few weeks.
This is driving me crazy. This is trading up to spot number 3 all over again. Well, we need a quarterback. Which one? I don't know. Let's go to 3 and just see who's there. We're just going to just see what happens. This is not planning well. All right. I've been on this long enough.
How challenging is that for him to go from being the defensive coordinator to being, and I'm not saying just another assistant, but from being the defensive coordinator to moving back into a different role?
I don't know. I haven't done it before. I'm sure it is a challenge. It has to do with, is that something that you want to do? Is it something you're comfortable with? I know our building would be comfortable with it. I know our players would be comfortable with it.
How do you know?
This was a tough year, but no, Nick didn't lose any respect or anything like that from any of our players or our coaches. And I think if you talk to anyone, whether it's with you guys in the media or it's just one-on-one, he's got a lot of respect for people.
He didn't lose any respect from anybody?
Come down to Jared, just whenever Amon-Ra St. Brown is the number 1 receiver in the route, then that's his favorite play.
Mr. Christian, he dropped the GD right there. I don't know if you guys are as old school as my family is, but you don't say GD. And the people who do say it, they usually change it to GOT, G-O-T, D-A-M-N, right? God damn. He clearly said the other way. This guy was flummoxed. He was upset. Don't tell me he didn't lose.
Come down to Jared, just whenever Amon-Ra St. Brown is the number 1 receiver in the route, then that's his favorite play.
Come on, man. Come on, Kyle. Whatever.
From people here, and everyone does think he's a good coach. I spent these last 2 days having exit interviews. It's been, to go through these 2 days where all I do is just talk to people, and you talk to everybody. Lots of good feedback on Nick, and I think the guys would be real excited if he was here next year.
Is there any uncertainty about Trent Williams and him playing in 2025?
Trent's doing well. He's he had a bruise in the ankle joint, and it probably took a little longer than anyone anticipated. But sometimes that happens, and the good news is it's taken a positive turn. Trent's mindset is where it always is, and he's still very interested in being a great player that he is, and I think he's still got a lot left in the tank. So Trent's committed as ever, and we love having Trent Williams a part of us.
You mentioned options out there for the DC spot, also special teams coordinator. What are you looking for both spots?
I'm looking for a guy who I think will fit with our team the best. I like to sit and talk to guys about our personnel. I want to obviously talk to someone about their plans schematically and what they like to do, but that's all great. What do you plan to do with our team? And that's what involves certain people. In terms of when they look at what we have, what they think we need going forward, what we got to go get. And so I want someone that kind of meshes with what I believe in, and but I also believe in that you got to fit to come up with the best thing possible that fits our situation right now. So that'll be talking about our personnel, the roster thing, a lot of things like that, and what their plan would be with it.
Do you open to someone running a different scheme from the past seasons?
Yeah, I'm open to anything.
Brock talked the other day about wanting to get an extension done as soon as possible. All right, do you have that same optimism that it can get done by mid-April when spring workouts start?
Well, listen, I think what we know about Brock is that he's our guy. We've got, we have interest in Brock being around here for a long, long time. He's done so much for our organization. He's won big games, and had a little tougher task, as we all did this year, with some of the things that happened throughout the course of the year. We just never could string games where we were all together. And through that, he continued to lead. He continued to play at a high level. So we have every interest in him being around. The way this thing goes, these press conferences are necessary, but always kind of silly because Kyle's coaching. We spend time together all the time, and there's big issues that affect the team. But he's just getting off coaching. He's had his door shut for 2 days, doing exit interviews. We were just up, but we were talking about our players. We'll have some time here in the coming weeks to sit together and put our whole plan together. That's obviously a priority, that position, and we'll give it that attention.
When you guys last sat up there, like in training camp, one of the big.
Oh, shit. I like that. We have plans for Brock. We want him to be here. He's won some big games for us. If you guys were watching me, I was shaking my head. Not because I don't believe in Brock, but because I've heard this same exact shit before with a different quarterback. I'm not going to say any names. You can apply it to whoever you want. We like him. He's won some big games for us. We believe we can win with him, blah, blah. We hear all of that stuff. But what he said here at the end, he took it off of Brock, and he focused on the position.
Doing exit interviews.
He focused on the position.
We were just up, but we were talking about our players. We'll have some time here in the coming weeks to sit together and put our whole plan together. That's obviously a priority, that position, and we'll give it that attention.
That I like. And again, Brock very well may be the answer. I am not anti-Brock Purdy. What I am anti is just, let's just stay the same and hope that everything works out. Let's just hope that everybody gets bigger, stronger, faster, smarter.
Excuse me, bitch?
In what world does that happen? In what world do people just get bigger, stronger, smarter, faster, just because? It doesn't happen. And so I like that he changed it to overall, hey, like, the position. We are going to focus on the position, and that is great. I don't care if it's a drafted guy. I don't care if it's free agency. I don't care if it's someone else that's already on the roster that they elevate. I just let these guys really go and do the 49er faithful a favor and put your best effort into finding a franchise quarterback. That could be Brock Purdy. I don't want y'all to think that this is an anti-Brock Purdy thing, but the way Kyle is talking about Nick Sorensen, I don't know what he's going to do, but he's going to be here. I don't want to hear that about Brock Purdy. I don't know how good he's going to be, but he's going to be our quarterback. I don't want to hear that shit. That's not what you want to hear about the most important position on the football field.
You guys last sat up there, like in training camp, one of the big priorities you said was, we have to have finishers this year. And you guys got outscored, I think, 165-88 in the fourth quarter. So what does that tell you about this team? What went wrong? Is it physical stamina? Is it mindset? Is it the personnel schemes? What do you point your finger to?
Yeah, you don't want to have excuses. A lot of our finishers weren't out there, and then on top of it, we still had opportunities. We still put ourselves in good position, and we couldn't get it done. So we have to own that as a team. That's why we're 6-11. We have a high standard. We had high expectations. We fell short of that, and it's our job to fix that. And I know that Kyle and I are committed as we've ever been to doing just that. We don't plan on being in this place. Don't like it. It's terrible to sit home and watch something that you expect yourself to be in the tournament. And we're going to go about the work, and we're excited about the work to do just that. But I do believe we have finishers on this team, and got to continue to add to that. We got to continue to infuse youth and good football players to this team, and we'll do that.
He said down the stretch the finishers weren't there. Well, we didn't have Trent. We didn't have Ayuk. We didn't have CMC. That's on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe I can get with that. What defensive finishers didn't we have other than Dre Greenlaw? Did they just let the cat out the bag? They value Dre Greenlaw more than what we actually thought. You know what? I'm going to put the closed captions on here. All right? I'm going to put the closed captions on, and let's make this.
But I do believe we have finishers on this team, and got to continue to add to that. We got to continue to infuse youth and good football players to this team, and we'll do that.
couple of off seasons have had a lot of drama, and maybe Kyle can address this too. And a lot of it, there's social media posturing, maybe some of it has already begun. Just, is there anything as the organization that you can do to kind of mitigate that, calm it down? It just seems like it's heated up at times in the last few off seasons.
Yeah, I think every team has a certain measure of that. I think we have a lot of good players, and one of the things that comes with having a lot of good players is it's hard to feed everyone, and you got to make tough decisions. And we're certainly at a point where we've had a 5-year run with 4 NFC championships, 2 Super Bowls, and you have to go back to the fundamentals of really building the thing. The lifeblood of your organization needs to be strong drafts because it gives you young players that you have under contract for. And so I think we had 7 players that were starters off that draft class, whether we expected them to be, they did, and they gained really valuable experience. I even had free agent guys like Evan Anderson who contributed, a lot. And so I think we're really excited about this rookie class and that movement. We got to continue to add to it. We have 10, probably right now 9 draft choices. We think we'll have 10 with a comp pick, but we need to continue to add to it in that way, and hope we continue to have hard decisions.
A comp pick. Free agency is before the draft. That's where the comp picks come from. Who are they letting go that's going to get signed somewhere? That's going to warrant a comp pick. Ooh. I'll get back to that.
Because we have a lot of great players here.
This is not the first year that special teams have struggled here, and widely noted, you don't take a real detailed interest in special teams.
Yes. Put this motherfucker on the spot. Yes. You said it. Don't act dumb now. You said it. You've said that you should be able to win the game in the other 2 phases of the game and shouldn't come down to special teams plays. You said it. Don't you fucking run from it now. Who asked this question? Somebody give me this man's phone number.
This is not the first year that special teams have struggled here, and widely noted, you don't take a real detailed interest in special teams. Does that need to change a little, Kyle? Can you get more involved? Do you need to get more involved?
I mean, what do you mean by I don't take interest in special teams?
Look at him trying to play dumb.
You're not watching the kicker tryouts and that kind of. I know they're off.
Let me help Kyle there.
See. No, John, don't save him. Don't save him, John. John couldn't wait to get involved. Look at the thinking in John's eyes. Because John knows it's true.
Need to change a little, Kyle? Can you get more involved? Do you need to get more involved?
I mean,
look at John.
What do you mean by I don't take interest in special teams?
Well, you say you're not watching the kicker tryouts and that kind of. I know they're off.
Let me help
save
Kyle
him.
I would tell you, Kyle spends an inordinate amount of time with all phases of our team. Special teams is extremely important in the way we construct our rosters. The time is there. Now in kicking, neither of us are kicking specialists, so we don't sit here and profess to know everything about kicking and things of that nature. But the time issue, I'm sorry to interrupt, Kyle, but he spends plenty of time there.
I just don't BS you guys.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, you turned it around on me there.
No. You turned it around on yourself, Kyle.
But to say, we spent some heavy draft picks on special teams players, which I think is investment.
Dante Pettis, who
salary
didn't
cap on guys.
do anything there.
Bringing guys like George Odom.
That's true.
Haven't played against fouls here these last couple of years.
That's true.
That's bringing back. Those were special teams decisions. Spent a third-round pick on a kicker. Making special teams changes.
There you go.
That's
how you
teams
answer.
Is important to me because we do work at it, but it's wasn't good enough this year. I don't put that just on Brian by any means.
Great
Losing
recovery.
your kicker, losing your punter. When injuries do affect the roster, especially offense and defensively, what it did affect the most was special teams. And I think that was unfair to Brian and a tough situation to put him in. But I do think it's an avenue we can get better in, and you can't change the whole thing out. And so Brian ends up being the fall guy for that. And I really appreciate him. He did have a real good 3 years here and worked his tail off and was very loyal to us and is a very good coach. And
yes.
He'll bounce back on his feet, and we'll be going against him soon, I'm sure. But no, special teams is part of football, and everything part of football is extremely important to us.
Great recovery there by Kyle Shanahan because, man, Oh, man. Had he sat there and let John Lynch answer that question for him and didn't jump back in? No. One, it says something that John Lynch even thought he needed to intervene on behalf of Kyle, but Kyle's sitting right there. Kyle's sitting right there playing with his little water cap. He's playing with it. He's fidgeting with it. And he tried to get slick. What do you mean by that? Listen. Schneider put it all out there. You hired him through text. They asked Schneider, hey, what players do you think are going to be pivotal to the success of your special teams? He says, I don't even know what players I'm going to have left. They build a 53-man roster, and then I build the special teams unit after that. I might have input on 1 or 2 players. That's what he said. Don't try to change it up now. And if you don't like the message that your coach and your coordinator sent out, then you need to say something to him, Kyle. You got to say something to him, John. He put that message out. Oh, that's right. You guys got rid of him because you realize the guy's no good. He's no good. Did he lose his kicker for a couple of games? Yes. Did he lose his punter? Yes. So what? The fact of the matter is the other kickers had better kicking percentages than his regular kicker. Punters, we didn't lose anything. We didn't lose much in the terms of Mitch Wisnowski not being in there anymore. Sorry, not sorry. The return games were abysmal. But Kyle, man, way to come back and answer those questions. Way to come back and answer those questions, man. It's almost like you knew that they were going to be asking you this question, man. You just sneaky motherfucker. I like that, man. I like that. All right, let's go.
A couple of weeks ago that you wanted to find some
to make when it comes to guys that will just period. Looking forward, you got some hard decisions to make when it comes to roster changes and coaching changes, right? So there are some videos circulating on the internet from the families of a couple players that would lead some people to believe that Drake Greenlaw knows whether or not he will be here or not. Has there been any conversation where
Yes! Bring the bullshit to the forefront. Let's stop beating around the bush, man. Let's stop beating around the bush. You don't need to tiptoe around this shit no more. Man up. You just got done saying, I just don't BS you guys. That's what you just said. You just got done saying it. Don't BS us now.
he's been given a definitive answer of his future as a Niner?
No, we don't even know, guys. We haven't spent much time together yet. I've had 2 days with exit interviews with players and coaches. Players don't know either, and that's what's hard for players. They're under contracts. They know when their contract's going to run up. That's an emotional time for players, for their families, for wives, girlfriends, whoever it is, kids, just like it is for coaches when I can't always tell them exactly what their future is going to be the day the season ends. It's tied to a lot of other people, and I know I've been on that side. I know wives are texting you all day asking what the deal is, and they don't believe that you really don't have an answer yet. And I know what they look like when you walk them through the door and they're like, what are we doing with our lives? And you're like, I don't really know. There's a lot of things that you want to solve so fast for people that is stressful for people sitting in our chairs. But you can't solve everything at once. A lot of things are tied together, and when you hear things like that, or Greenlaw, like, we're doing everything in the world we can to bring Greenlaw back, and we're not into losing really good players who are unbelievable people. So we're going to do everything we can to never lose really good players who are good people. But that's also a very hard challenge, very hard. And that's something that you don't just talk about in one meeting. There's too many things that connect to that. Draft, free agency, roster, years, all that stuff. And that takes weeks, months to decide.
And I think the only thing I'd add to that, the communication with the players, what's most important. And I know I sat with Dre and always have great discussions with Dre. I know about his want to be here, and I know our want to have him here. And like Kyle said, there's realities and there's tough decisions and so many factors to all those things. But believe me, the desire on both sides is there.
You mentioned a couple of weeks ago that you wanted to. What was I going to? Go ahead, Jake.
You mentioned that the scheme, because of personnel, it was harder on Nick. When you look at the defensive line, I think the wide 9 is coming to scrutiny. How much do you view, especially in the run game, the struggles there being schematic, and how much of it is personnel?
I think it's a little bit of both. First of all, regardless of injuries or anything, this year is most disappointing to me because regardless of injuries, I feel we should have been a playoff team. And then you never know what happens in there. But when I go back to the hardest thing for me this year was those 3 games I've talked to you guys about. First one versus Arizona, first one versus LA, first one versus Arizona, second one versus Seattle. I thought we should have won those games, and we lost them at the end by, I thought, our own mistakes, which means we would have been 8-2 going into week 11. And that was the hardest thing, and then we hit some real bad injuries, which were going to be tough. But that's, to me, what made it steamroll to where we didn't have a chance to make the playoffs. So when I look at that stuff, like, that's the stuff that I feel we got to fix the most. And is that scheme? Is that personnel? I mean, that's football. You got to adjust. I mean, your scheme changes when people are getting hurt, when you can't do exactly what you want to do. It happens on offense all the time. You guys are going to see. I hear from you guys, but I mean, the offense looks different when a different quarterback gets in there. It looks different when Christian McCaffrey gets in there. It looks different all the time, and that's how defenses can be too. But you have to build it that way, because it's really hard to just change something up in 3 days of practice. You got to have that foundation of how you implement it and where you think the season can go, and that's what you really truly try to build in the offseason, and then in the training camp. And that's something I think we'll be better at building this offseason, having a little bit more time to do it, being a little more prepared for it, because we saw where it went last year. And that starts with getting a coordinator in here who can help us map that out. And once we do map that out, it goes right to free agency and how to make sure we can get the best possible situation that we have out of the situation that we're in. And then it goes to the draft. And when that's over, all the guys are here, and then you get to work.
Same lines. You had mentioned a couple weeks ago that you wanted to find the root causes for the down season beyond the injuries. In your mind, what do you feel those root causes were?
Yeah,
See, they call this guy an asshole, and maybe I'm inclined to agree with him sometimes on that, but these are the questions that we need to discuss. He said this weeks ago, before the season was over. He said we need to get back to the root causes of why, and it's not injuries. He said it wasn't injuries. We got to get back to the root of why we're not playing well. What did John Lynch mean? These are the questions that need to be asked, man. Good job.
Same lines. You had mentioned a couple weeks ago that you wanted to find the root causes for the down season beyond the injuries. In your mind, what do you feel those root causes were?
Yeah, I think my point there was you don't just want to say it was injuries, because like Kyle just mentioned, we had games within our control. In spite of or despite those injuries, we were in position to win a lot of games. So
check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car. Okay, you ready? All right, $118 for car insurance.
I think you just want to dig deeper and you want to look at
Didn't even
everything.
have a yellow
That's
mark
what we'll
on there.
do. That's part of our process. That will always be part of our process. We can go more in depth this year. I think you always try to look for the positive in situations, and there ain't a whole lot of positive not being a playoff run. You have to make it a positive because we have this time. How are we going to use it? And I think we can focus a little bit more on where we want to go, where we want to evolve in both personnel, scheme, all these things. And that's what we'll do. We'll take advantage of the time. In a sense, it kind of energizes you to come back and have this time to really put our minds and our staff's minds together to come out with the best, to give us the best opportunity to compete going forward.
Been doing this for a while now, and drafted Greenlaw and Jennings and Purdy and guys that are insane competitors. Did you know going into the draft those guys were insane competitors, and how do you find more guys like that?
I can't say you always know. Like Juwan Jennings, we don't spend a lot of time watching like highlight tapes off the internet, but up in the draft meeting, someone said you should watch this highlight tape, and so we did that with Juwan, and it was insane. It really was. It was so you kind of had an idea of the type of competitor, and I smile when I talk about Juwan because I love the way he plays. I love the way he competes. You don't know on every player, but I think the process and the way we include everybody, the way we pair personnel staff with coaches, and the thorough process we have, it's a good process. So you find guys like that, and I think we're going to rely on that process and challenge to continue to get better. What we know is when we have consensus up there, we do really well, and we've done that, and we need to continue to do that.
On to make any changes to the offensive staff, and related to that, I know Clay, you let him call plays in the last game. How did he do there, and do you expect his role to grow or shift within that structure?
I thought he did an awesome job, and Clay's role is going to be the same as it's been, which has been the offensive coordinator. He just hasn't had that title yet. I mean, Clay's done as much as anyone on offense for these last 2 years. So this was his second year doing that, and he gets better and better each year at it. Just hasn't had the official title yet, and now he'll get the official title, which he more than deserves. But it's...
Wait, you mean to tell me that Clay Kubiak has been the offensive coordinator for multiple seasons? Like I said on Wayne's show, but people were trying to correct me in the chat because I've heard, this isn't the first time I've heard Kyle say this, that Clay's been the offensive coordinator. He just doesn't call plays. Are you telling me that I was right? No way.
On offense for these last 2 years.
Wait, what?
Which has been the offensive coordinator. He just hasn't had that title yet. I mean, Clay's done as much as anyone on offense for these last 2 years. So this was his second year doing that, and he gets better and better each year at it. Just hasn't had the official title yet, and now he'll get the official title, which he more than deserves. But it's more about, recognizing what he's already been doing and doing at a high level.
Call plays, or will you delegate that sometimes?
Yeah, I'll continue to call plays, but Clay and I have done everything here the last 2 years together, kind of hand in hand. When we put the game plan in together, yeah, I call it. Only one person can speak to the quarterback, but him, Furster, Fleury, those are the guys I rely on through play calling throughout the game. It's not like I'm just in silence there calling every play. I'm discussing it with the guys we prepared for it with in the week, discussing it with the guys who are talking with their players and what they see, and it's the same thing we all did for Clay versus Arizona.
What Ricky went through, how do you both judge the season he had?
I thought Ricky had an unbelievable season. I know the gunshot wound is the biggest, obviously, but I've never had a rookie player miss all of OTAs in training camp and have much of a successful rookie year. It's tough to do that. For him to do that and then get into week one, which I knew he would be way behind because of that situation, and then get a gunshot wound kind of made me think that we were going to get nothing from him, and just in terms of how could we and how hard that would be on him. But how quick he came back from that, and then when he did, just to watch him go through rookie things in a live NFL game and stuff, and then having to watch him come back from that stuff throughout the year and still hit a rookie wall without a foundation of an offseason and stuff like that. I thought it was a huge success for him this year.
Yeah,
How would you assess?
I'd agree. You have these exit interviews, and you always take away impressions. And the coolest thing, some of these rookies are typically they're just done. You think about it, long college year, right to combine training. You get drafted, you go OTAs, all that. Ricky, one thing he said to me, Mr. Lynch, I just want to keep playing because I feel like I'm just getting my feet underneath me. So that's really cool that he has that excitement, and he's going to use that. I said, now the key is you use that to motivate you through this offseason. And the best players, they don't ever take a rest. They shutter down the intensity and things like that, but they never rest. And so his mindset, I can tell, is right. He's a really good football player. Proud of the way he handled a lot of adversity, things that nobody could anticipate, and work through it. And I think we're going to have a really good football player.
On that note, behind the scenes, we talked to Mooney kind of for the first time yesterday since what happened to him, and Trent and Chris Furster and Ricky. You guys had a lot of things that are not typical, pretty brutal behind the scenes. How hard was that behind the scenes, and how did you both navigate that?
That stuff's always tough, and and the football season's so intense for everyone. That's why anyone who's really been my friend over the last 20 years realizes you're not going to know anything about him for about 7 months, because we kind of go into a hole and you get caught up in the season and all that stuff. But we all do have families and stuff out, and that does weigh on people. But you still got to come and you got to do your job. But that stuff is hard, and you watch guys go through it, and it's I think it you don't like to watch anyone go through something tragic, but you really watch how impressive people can be going through that stuff. It's when you watch people really grieve and things like that, you realize that's the hardest thing all humans have to deal with. But then to watch people who are grieving so badly and still have to come into a room and then go perform at a high level, which is a whole different type of pressure, and to watch them handle it and get through it, you realize how much stronger some of this stuff makes those guys, and then inspires guys around them. And it does make you closer at times. But like, I think our stuff was pretty documented this year. But there's stuff like that every year. Maybe not as big, quite as big, or as many of them. But a lot of teams deal with that stuff, and we've been through a number over these years. And just what going through with Chris Furster and his wife last year, just her passing away a week before the Super Bowl and things like that. And going through it with Johnny over the years, when him battling his cancer and things like that. Like, everyone has those tough moments in life, but when you have to do it through this, it is unique. But when you go through it, I think it does make people a little bit closer and a little bit stronger for going through some of those moments.
And that's this is it's a production based business, and we're paid to win games, compete for championships. The one thing I will say, acknowledging that we fell short of that standard, I am proud of this team, the way we hung together. It was, like Kyle said, there's always things, and there's things behind the scenes that no one hears about. Frankly, one of the craziest things about this job as a player, I prided myself with really knowing my teammates. There's so much stuff I never knew that I'm disappointed that I didn't, because now as I sit in this seat, so much comes to you, the challenges people are going through. But I will say that this season, I've never had anything like it in terms of the amount, the severity, the unique circumstances. And I was proud of the way our team stuck together, had each other's backs, and stayed together. And I do believe we'll be stronger for that.
It's really tough to find instant impact offensive linemen. Does Dominic Pooney's success this year help you identify or further crystallize the blueprint, what you might be looking for?
Well, I think it shows that, our process worked there. And, but I would say he really exceeded our expectations. We thought we got a good player. I think he showed us a little more than that. And we were just talking about it upstairs. Everyone saw the real strong play, the consistent play. I think there's more in the tank, of where he can grow. I think the toughness, he dealt with some, he had an AC joint one week, and, we were really questioning whether he could play on Sunday, and he practiced on Wednesday. And I've had that same injury. I always prided myself on having a high pain tolerance. That stuff hurts, and he didn't miss a practice. So I think he's got the right mindset too. And we got to continue to find guys like Dom, because he's going to be a good player for us.
How would you assess Brock's performance this year, and how important is it for you to have him back, in time for OTAs, just given that he's the quarterback and want to go through that process?
Yeah, definitely. It's important to have our whole team back for OTAs.
Don't do that.
It's actually.
He asked about Brock. Come on, you know why he asked.
Last year, it was like 8 weeks after our last game that our guys needed to be back for voluntary work and stuff, which I think is real important. And the year before that, it was like 9 or 10 weeks. So these last two, and then when we all got back, it was like you could tell we all were back, but we wish we had a little bit more time. And when I look at a calendar now and realize we have 14 weeks until we need to get back, like I expect everyone to be ready to go and excited to really get this going and play some football. And that starts with Brock. Like, Brock is the leader of our team. I've loved these 3 years with Brock. I plan on being with Brock here the whole time I'm here. So Brock's been a stud. He's a guy I got a lot of confidence in, and just as a human. But it starts with what he's done on the field these last 2.5 years, and we're capable of winning a Super Bowl with him. We just almost did, and I know he's capable of getting the Niners Super Bowl in the future.
I'm not mad at what Kyle is saying about Brock Purdy. In fact, I think Kyle is more responsible for the negatives that I think and feel about Brock Purdy than Brock Purdy is. So if you guys go back to that Lions game, right? There was a play in the third quarter where we're driving down the field. Brock Purdy throws an interception. The defender, it was a safety, makes a diving catch, but there was a flag. George Kittle got held, so we got the automatic first down, right? It was a pass interference or holding, whatever it was. But we're driving down the field. They throw the ball to George Kittle. Kittle's nowhere near where the ball's supposed to be. Brock's throwing to a place. Great. We love that about Brock. That's some of the things that we wanted to see, right? Throw it in anticipation. Kittle never made it there. The guy dives. He makes a phenomenal interception, but there's a flag. first down 49ers. The very next play, Brock throws an interception. And I've noticed this about Kyle and specifically with Brock. He believes in Brock so much that he doesn't allow Brock's brain to reset. Right? I can be as confident as I want to be as a player at my job. But when I fuck up, give me a chance to step back and recalibrate. And Kyle doesn't do that for Brock. He doesn't do that for Brock Purdy. The very next play after that interception that was called back by a flag and we got the first down was another interception to the same exact safety. It was a high pass to Ricky Pearsall, and it was intercepted again. Kyle, unlike 80% of the offensive coordinators in the NFL, doesn't allow his quarterback a chance to reset. When the quarterback fucks up, normally say, all right, let's call some run plays. Let's call some easy checkdowns to get him back into a groove. Kyle don't do that. He doesn't do that with Brock. He did it with Jimmy. He did it with Trey. He did it with Hoyer. He did it with Beathard. He did it with Mullins. They fuck up. All right, let's call some easy plays to get you back into a rhythm. And then see what happens, right? With Brock, he goes right back to gunslinging. He goes right back to it. Just boom, boom, boom. Right back into it. So I do believe that Kyle sincerely believes that Brock is the guy. He does. But what he's got to remember is that Brock Purdy was a 7th-round pick for a reason. Don't talk to me about hand size, weather. Don't talk to me about how strong his arm is, his pocket presence, and all that shit. You want to know why Brock Purdy was a 7th-round pick? In my opinion, consistency, regularity. He didn't have it. He flashed positive in college. He flashed negative in college. Brock Purdy was once benched in college, and we want him to be the franchise guy. That tells me that you got to cater to his mindset. You got to let him reset sometimes, Kyle. You got to reel it in sometimes and let Brock Purdy reset mentally and then let him get back into the flow of the game. Because now he's throwing back-to-back interceptions. Yeah, one of them didn't count, but it was still 2 of 2 interceptions. And what did he do another drive later? You guessed it, another fucking interception. Because you don't let the guy reset. And I think some of that comes on the play caller. It absolutely falls on the play caller. You are putting me in position to overthink when I go to release this ball. It's just what happens. I think Kyle loves Brock Purdy. I think that he believes that Brock Purdy has been a stud. And I think that he believes that we can win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. And I do too. But not if Kyle's going to keep doing Brock the way that he's doing him. We were sprinkling in the run a lot in that Lions game. And I'm going to the Lions game because that's the last game that Brock Purdy played. And the run wasn't the most successful at the beginning of the game. Then we got it going. How do we end that game? There was a point where it was like 17 straight plays that were passes. It was a 1-point game. It was a 1-possession game. There's no need to throw the ball that fucking much. There's no need. But Kyle gets it in his head that I love Brock and Brock can do it all, and I'm just going to go with Brock. That's on Kyle. That's when Kyle needs to reset and say, hey, let my man calm down. Because calm Brock is the first 3 drives, right? The scripted plays. That's the Brock that we need. That's the Brock that wins us games. That's the Brock that didn't have an errant throw for his first 12 attempts. He started out 7 for 7. I think he went 9 for 9 in that Lions game. He was that good. He was on fucking fire. But then when he messes up, Kyle just throws him right back out there. We're not afraid of the interception. You outsmart yourself. Don't be afraid of it, but respect it. Respect the momentum possibilities. This is football, and momentum is real. It's real. Hockey and football are 2 sports that I believe momentum is real. I do. They're physical contact sports, and momentum can be shifted in a blink of an eye. Kyle's got to give his guy a chance to reset. But listen to what he says about him.
I plan on being with Brock here the whole time I'm here. So, Brock's been a stud. He's a guy I got a lot of confidence in, and just as a human. But it starts with what he's done on the field these last 2.5 years, and we're capable of winning a Super Bowl with him. We just almost did, and I know he's capable of getting the Niners a Super Bowl in the future.
That was the most dangerous thing Kyle Shanahan said this entire thing. I plan on being with Brock here the entire time I'm here. You want to talk about losing some leverage in negotiations? Your head coach, your offensive genius, just tied himself to a quarterback for the first time in his 49ers tenure for the rest of his career. You lost leverage when you made that statement. You best believe that when it comes time to negotiate, Brock Purdy's agent is bringing that quote to the table. In the same offseason where you had the Falcons saying that Kirk Cousins can be had if somebody wants him. And we knew that was your guy. In the first offseason where I personally feel like there's some sleeper quarterbacks. And this quarterback draft class is not a good one. Let me be very clear what I'm saying here. But I think there's some sleepers out there, some guys that didn't get a lot of opportunities, but could be good. This is the first time Kyle is handcuffing himself to a guy, and that's the guy you chose to do it. You chose to say it right now. Bad move by Kyle.
Brock is the leader of our team. I've loved these 3 years with Brock. I plan on being with Brock here the whole time I'm here. So, Brock's been a stud. He's a guy I got a lot of confidence in, and just as a human. But it starts with what he's done on the field these last 2.5 years, and we're capable of winning a Super Bowl with him. We just almost did, and I know he's capable of getting the Niners a Super Bowl in the future.
John mentioned a 5-year run for the championship games. I know he wasn't saying that's it, but do you think you need to kind of set the stage for another kind of era or another refreshing? It kind of what's been going on, like what went on there was really good, and now it shifts a little bit.
Yeah, I think it shifted in that time also. I think we went to the Super Bowl in 19, and the next time we went, we had, we went in 19, we had a rookie receiver and a veteran receiver, and Debo and Emmanuel. The next time we went, we had BA. First time we had a different quarterback, and 4 years later, it's Brock. I think we did have different guys on defense. I think we look at, I don't remember the numbers, but I feel like there was 8 guys who played in the 19 Super Bowl. So I think we have already done that. And I think you got to do it again, without a doubt. I think when you do come up short, like we did on February 11th last year, I do think in the offseason when you know how close that could have been, and it just comes down to a couple plays, and everything you want to think about is how to make that up. Because you do believe you can do that again. And I think that's when people talk about windows and stuff like that. And I think that's how we did spend our offseason, trying to look at how we could come back and make that game up and get to that point this year and pull it off. And we took our best shot at that, and it didn't go right. And now we're going to do it again. Does that mean every thought is to try to get to that right now? I think whenever you think that way, you're selling your organization short. You got to always think right now, but you got to think big picture too, which to me in football is always on a 2 to 3 year time frame. And I think we've been doing that really since we've been here. We've never fully sold out for that year. And but we always want to be competitive and feel like we have a chance to do that. And we felt that way about 5 years in a row, and we've gone to it twice. And I feel like we had very good opportunities to win both of those games. And that's the thought process we're going to have every year.
Both learn as a coach, a GM, about yourself and about the team with the whole Devondre Campbell episode?
What did we what? What was the first?
Learn about yourself as a coach and a GM.
What I already knew. That's something that we don't roll with, and it was hard to stomach. And once we saw it, we were done with it.
Question for both you guys. You guys have been doing this a while together now, and you guys know the way football is. When you lose, it's a brutal game, and yet you guys don't point the finger at each other. The discussion's always like, do we have enough talent? Was it coached well enough? How do you resist the urge to fracture? How do you stay united through the pressure of this?
I think this is a good question. I think it's a really good question, right? Because we've heard John Lynch say, we want to get back to the root of the issues beyond the talent. Because John Lynch, in his job, this guy right here, His job is to acquire the talent. But that guy over there, it's his job to coach the talent. And John Lynch has said, we've had the talent to win these games. Kyle Shanahan said the same thing. And then John Lynch echoed those sentiments. We've had games in hand. I think this is a phenomenal question. How do you guys not start pointing the finger at each other during this process?
That's why I really wanted him to be here with me. I mean, John got in this for the right intentions. It was to try to put together a team to win a Super Bowl, and that's what he's committed to. That's really the simplest way that everyone says, you know, but like in this business, you always go through hard times, but it's never just coaching and it's never just personnel. It's everything. That's why there's never a quick answer, like on anything in football. There's 22 variables out there every play. There's a long season. There's lots of scheme that's involved. There's lots of talent that's involved. There's lots of just random stuff with injuries, referees, like schedules, weather. There's so many things that goes into play. And if you're in an organization where people's number one concern is surviving, which that doesn't mean they're a bad person. There's a lot of people who don't like to move their families, and there's a lot of pressure on people in that way. But when you know the character of a person and why people get into it, like John's not ever going to do something or talk in a way just to survive. And anyone who knows how I am, like I'm not like that either. Like you're not going to make a decision just to scapegoat someone or just to survive. It's hard to in this business because it's a cutthroat business, and it's hard to tell your family to move and things like that. But that's to me that's why John is who I wanted to work with, because I knew why he was getting into it, and those are the things. And I also knew what we were going to have to go through for a little bit, especially our first couple of years. And anyone who says they're going to be a certain way, when you go through those hard times, it's human nature. It's a little bit tougher to be that way. And that's why I feel so fortunate in just the situation I am in with someone like John, with someone like Jed, with how his parents are. Like it's just I've never sat like I can always just tell what I think from a football standpoint, and I know I'm going to get from John what he thinks from his football standpoint. It's not always the most fun answer. You got to admit a lot that you didn't do right, but that's the truth of it, and that's the only way that you can consistently overcome things and find a way to consistently be successful.
Yeah, and I would just say it's respect, and respect is earned, and we felt alignment when we came in here, and that's only strengthened since we've been here, and that's not always the case, and it's not just blind loyalty and blind trust. It's earned every year. But what I know about Kyle, he's a good person. I know he gives us, I say it all the time, he gives us an advantage, I think, every year, every week. And he's obsessed with always continuing to evolve and and I think when you have that, you have his natural instincts as a coach. You have the staff, people want to work with him. People want to work with us. And, you gotta come to grips with the successes, with the failures, but never lose what the ultimate goal is. And I think we've been able to do that. And we challenge each other, but we have each other's backs, and that's a good feeling. And we got to keep forging ahead and get done what we came to get done here.
John, with the contract reworking for Javon Hargrave, kind of setting up the post-June 1, what have you expressed to him about the plan and what?
This is the question that I have the most interest in, right? Like, I think that the Niners want to bring back Dre Greenlaw. I think the Niners want to extend Purdy. There's not a lot of players that their futures, I don't know the Niners' intentions. Now, what'll happen and what'll come to fruition is different. Javon Hargrave, though, I think I'm a rare opinion here. I think that most people want to move on from Javon Hargrave, where I feel like we've given him so much in guarantees, and we've seen flashes when he is healthy, and it's only been like 6 games of his whole entire 49ers tenure. It's only been 6 games. But when he is healthy, I think that Javon Hargrave can be a very good player for us in the middle of this defensive line. And so I want to know badly, like, yes, he did the restructure. We can do the post-June 1st cut. But what are your intentions with him here? I think this is going to be the question of all questions, because this defensive line is going to be the make or break of this 49ers defense. I don't care what anyone says. The secondary is a strength as far as the corners go. The safeties, they need some help. The linebackers are pretty good. But the defensive line, if they can't set the edge, if they can't stop the run, this whole defense falls apart. And so this is where it starts. I think Javon Hargrave is a very good anchor in the middle of that defense when he's healthy, especially when you put him next to some really, really good players at the defensive tackle position. So let's see what they say.
With the contract reworking for Javon Hargrave, kind of setting up the post-June 1, what have you expressed to him about the plan and what you would expect from him, or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, just that, Matt. It was a, we had some salary cap challenges, and that was something that, allowed for the post-1. You can early designate it. And what I told Javon is he's a player we really like. Same reason we went out and signed him. That hasn't changed. He's an impactful player. We do have some challenges, and so this doesn't mean we can't compete for his services. It allows him, though, rather than waiting until post-June 1 and being SOL because free agency already happened, it gives him an opportunity to go see what his market, and that may include us. So we'll get into our plans. We know Javon, who he is.
Yes, it does include us. Yes.
He's on a good track coming back from his injury, and
trending in the right direction. Come on.
Would we be interested in having him? Of
Fuck
course.
yes.
Is that something we can come to an agreement on, and is it something that fits in our plans? We will see, and that's the exact conversations I've had with Javon.
Started for you to see he'll be free to decide.
Yes.
Than with Debo's situation.
Debo's under contract, and yeah.
You expect him back?
Yeah, a good player and has done a ton for this organization. And, we're not in the business of letting good players out of here. So, yeah.
All right, last one, Brent.
You just took my question.
Oh. Then we're good.
I don't want to waste anything. You had to, with Armstead and Juice last year, obviously different results, but that was something you had to do for the finances. Do you expect to have to do more of that this offseason?
We will see. We'll see. We do. There are realities. There's challenges. Like I said, we've got a lot of really good football players. The York family has been really good to letting us reward our players, and we've done that in a number of instances. That becomes tougher and tougher to continue to do. So we'll look at every avenue to become a better team, and we'll see where that takes us.
Nice. Well done.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's it, guys. All right. That was my breakdown of the pressers. Not a whole lot to go over there, really. I thought it was going to be a little bit more juicy than that. I thought we were going to get some things that people didn't really highlight. Now, I do apologize. I was taking work phone calls. I'm sick over here, so I had to mute a couple of times and blow my nose and all kinds of nasty stuff. But listen, it is what it is. We'll be back at 4 p.m. on Thursday, the 9th, with my man Wayne. Actually, we're going to be on Nothing But Niners channel, so, we're going to talk. We're going to talk here. All right, but we'll see you guys soon. I'm not going to make this thing drag out. I love and appreciate you guys, and we'll see y'all soon, all right? Prepare for glory, anticipate pain, but always remain faithful. I'll see y'all soon. Peace.
We all gas, no brakes, pumped up, no fakes. We spinning, we winning, we high stakes. We never miss, we all makes. Look at us dudes trying to prove, bringing you news with nothing to lose. Mike, Nick, Tony, Wayne, Method Man, we bring the pain. Hey, see, I'ma confess it. We under the pressure. If you looking to find us, we them nothing but Niners. Nothing but Niners. We nothing